The movie takes us to the future when the US government releases a chemical attack across the country to restart society. This causes millions of deaths in just a few minutes. After the attack, the government does nothing to keep order, leaving survivors with two choices: join one of the gangs fighting for control, or live peacefully as a domestic. A few months later, a domestic couple, Mark and Nina, are packing their car for a trip to Milwaukee to find Nina's parents. Mark's friend warns him about the dangers on the road, but Mark insists on going to support Nina, even though they were thinking about divorce before the attack. While driving, they hear a radio host advising domestics to avoid highways, watch out for snipers, and shoot anyone dressed like a ghost because they belong to the Sheets gang. Later, their car starts having problems, so they stop at an abandoned garage. While Mark works on the car, three men enter the garage. The men don't see the couple, so Mark quietly tries to get back to the car. Suddenly, a truck crashes into the garage, and members of the Sheets gang shoot the three men. Mark struggles to start the car, and the noise catches the Sheets' attention. Luckily, the car finally starts, and Mark and Nina escape before the gang can harm them. On the radio, they hear about a gang war between the Sheets and the Nailers. By evening, they find an empty house to spend the night. Nina searches for supplies while Mark checks the rooms and finds a dead couple in a bedroom. The blood shows they were tortured before being killed, so Mark covers their bodies out of respect. Nina tries to contact her mom using an old radio, but no one replies. That night, Mark updates his map and sleeps next to Nina, not knowing a man outside is watching them. The next morning, the man and his friend are attacked by Nailers, who demand to know where Nina is. The man reveals her location, but the Nailers kill him and his friend anyway. Soon after, Mark and Nina hear the Nailers approaching the house on their bikes. Nina hides in the attic and puts on headphones to block out the noise. As the Nailers search the house, Mark sneaks around with a screwdriver and kills one of them by stabbing him in the head. He then fights another Nailer, Dean, stabbing him in the stomach and eye to kill him. Afterward, Mark and Nina leave in their car, unaware they are being watched. During their journey, they hear on the radio about a Cherry gang member who saves women and kills anyone in her way. When they find a supermarket, they stop for supplies, but are confronted by an armed man. However, the man, Nathan, removes his mask and greets Mark, explaining he was watching them to make sure they were safe. Their conversation is interrupted when a car approaches and the group hides behind the shelves. The Nailers enter the store looking for Nina, but are quickly shot and killed by Nathan's son, Stephen, who was hiding behind a counter. Nathan then invites Mark and Nina to have dinner with his family. They leave in Nathan's tow truck, which is pulling Mark's car. As they try to leave the parking lot, they are stopped by the Plowboys gang. Their leader, Jim, explains they are patrolling because the Gamblers gang is nearby. Inside the Gamblers truck, there's a woman named Betsy, who is the Cherry mentioned on the radio. Jim takes an interest in Nina, but Nathan convinces him to let them pass because of their good relationship. As the group drives off, they fail to notice that Dean is still alive and watching them. Later, Nina and Mark have dinner with Nathan, his wife, and their two kids. The tension between Nina and Mark is clear while they talk about their lives, but Nathan and his wife are loving toward each other and even dance together. After dinner, Nathan reveals to Mark that the hamburgers they ate were made from human meat. Feeling disgusted, Mark asks Nathan not to tell Nina and says they're leaving. However, Nathan threatens him with death and forces them to stay. Suddenly, Dean bursts into the house, using Nathan's daughter as a shield. He demands to know where Nina and Mark are, and Nathan agrees to trade them for his daughter without hesitation. As Dean lets the girl go, Stephen sneaks up and cuts Dean's ankles, making him fall and fire his gun. The gunshot hits Nathan's wife, killing her, as Mark grabs Nina and pulls her away. Meanwhile, Stephen jumps on Dean and repeatedly stabs him while Dean tries to reach his gun. Outside, Mark and Nina hear more gunshots before stealing Nathan's car and driving away. Back on the road, Nina tells Mark she doesn't want to travel with him anymore. The two argue, but before they can settle things, the Gamblers gang spots them. The gang spins a wheel that lands on a skull, meaning their sniper must shoot. The sniper fires, hitting Nina in the shoulder. Mark quickly turns the car around and heads back toward town. Meanwhile, Nathan calls Jim and tells him he can have Mark and Nina. Jim gets excited and looks for his men, only to find them all dead. Suddenly, Betsy hits Jim on the head with a pipe, knocking him out. She frees the women the gang had captured and takes some guns from a nearby table. Betsy then drives away in a police car. Shortly after, she hears noises from Jim, who is tied up in the car's trunk. Annoyed, she stops the car and shoots him in the leg. While dealing with him, she notices movement in the woods and goes to investigate, leaving the trunk unlocked. The next morning, Nina wakes up in a cabin with her shoulder bandage. Mark isn't there, but he left her a note saying he went to find food. When Nina tries to leave through the front door, she finds another note warning that it's booby-trapped. She climbs out the window instead and explores the area, finding a car in the garage. Nina goes back inside to pack, planning to leave on her own. As she prepares, she finds more notes from Mark. One tells her to listen to music, another points out her favorite record, and the last one is an apology asking her not to give up on their marriage. Feeling guilty, Nina decides to stay. She drinks and dances to the music, while Betsy secretly watches her from outside. When Nina takes a break, Betsy goes back to the car and kills Jim. At the same time, Mark enters an abandoned house and finds two prisoners with bags over their heads. When he removes the bags, he sees Nathan and Stephen. Suddenly, a man named William appears, holding a gun, and forces Mark to drop his weapon. William, who enjoys violence, brings out his slave, Bill the Big, and tells Mark they must fight to the death. If Mark refuses, William will kill Nathan and Stephen. Mark reluctantly starts the fight, kicking Bill in the groin, but his punches are blocked. Bill hits him hard, knocking him down. Bill throws Mark around, kicks him in the stomach, and lifts him by the neck, choking him. As William watches, Mark headbutts Bill to escape, but Bill quickly grabs him again and throws him into some furniture. When Bill tries to break Mark's neck, Mark bites his arm, causing Bill to throw him toward William. This gives Mark a chance to fight William for the gun. In the struggle, the gun accidentally fires, killing William. Mark frees Nathan, Stephen, and even Bill before they all go their separate ways. Mark returns to the cabin and finds Nina asleep on the couch. He carries her to bed. Later, Nina wakes up and sees Mark practicing his shooting skills. She asks him to teach her how to use a gun, and while they're busy, Betsy sneaks into the cabin and finds Nina's wedding ring. After the shooting lesson, Nina shows Mark the car she found in the garage. The car reminds Mark of the one he used to own, and he feels nostalgic. This leads the couple to share an intimate moment in the back seat. Their peace is interrupted when the gamblers' gang shows up, claiming the car is theirs. The gang captures Mark and Nina and spins their wheel to decide their fate. The wheel lands on a spade, meaning the couple is thrown into cages and taken to the gang space at a rundown motel. The place is chaotic, with people drinking and fighting everywhere. The receptionist realizes Mark and Nina are married and sends them to the Snake Eyes suite. There, a host starts taking bets as the couple is tied to chairs. One of their hands is painfully drilled into guns placed on the table. The host explains the rules of Russian roulette. One bullet is loaded into each gun, and they must fire when told. If they don't, more bullets will be added. If they survive 6 rounds, they'll be allowed to leave. Mark tells Nina to pull the trigger without second-guessing, but Nina decides to bargain with the host. She asks for 3 extra bullets to be loaded into Mark's gun in exchange for reducing the game to 2 rounds. The host agrees, and once the bullets are added, the game begins. The gamblers count down, and both guns fire, but neither bullet hits anyone. Unfortunately, in the second round, Nina's gun fires the single bullet, and it hits Mark in the shoulder. Chaos erupts when Wanda begins arguing with another gambler over the BET money, and the host gets distracted trying to settle them down. Meanwhile, Nina works to free her hand, eventually grabbing the host's gun from his boot. She shoots him twice and fires at the table to release Mark's bindings. With Mark injured, Nina helps him walk while keeping the rest of the gamblers at bay with the gun. When the host tries to beg for help, Nina shoots him again, ending his life. Wanda, furious, vows revenge, but since no one in the room is armed, she orders the others to let the couple escape for now. As soon as Mark and Nina are outside, Wanda and the rest rush to arm themselves. The couple searches for a working car, but they are spotted by snipers on the roof. Before the snipers can fire, Betsy takes them out. Mark and Nina manage to drive away, while Wanda and her group emerge and shoot after them, missing every shot. Frustrated, Wanda hits one of her own men and declares they'll go after Nina no matter what. Later, Mark wakes up in Nina's childhood home in Milwaukee. The neighbors inform Nina that her father passed away from an illness and her mother ended her life to join him. They learned this from a letter her mother left behind. After reading the letter, Nina asks the neighbors how they've managed to maintain peace in their community. They explain they've set up car barricades, take turns as snipers on rooftops, and have a system of hidden explosives connected to barbed wire traps. While checking out the traps, Nina happily reconnects with Phil, an old family friend. Meanwhile, Betsy arrives in the area and hides in the house across from Nina's, watching for any threats. Later, Nina notices Phil speaking into a walkie-talkie. When she tries to talk to him, he quickly runs back into his house. Suspicious, Nina sneaks around to spy on him and discovers that he has been in contact with the gamblers who are planning to invade soon. At the same time, Nina spots a little girl wandering the street and quickly pulls her inside, just as the gamblers arrive. Nina gives Mark a gun and asks him to protect the child while she fights. The gamblers leave their vehicles and begin searching the area. Suddenly, Nina starts shooting, killing several gang members. The rest of the group hides behind their cars and returns fire, forcing Nina to take cover. Betsy uses the distraction to fire her machine gun, killing many gamblers in a short time. As the gang focuses on Betsy, Nina uses the chance to reload. However, a gambler sneaks up behind her, but Mark shoots him through the window just in time. Wanda refuses to retreat and orders the fight to continue. The neighbor on roof patrol starts firing as well, helping to hold off the gamblers. Betsy runs out of bullets and hides, while Nina throws a homemade smoke bomb into the street. Meanwhile, a gambler attacks Mark inside the house, choking him. Mark breaks off a piece of the attacker's mask and stabs him in the eye, then wrestles him to the ground and delivers a final stab to the chest. Outside, Nina continues to fight while Betsy discovers she's been shot. At that moment, the Plowboys arrive, seeking revenge against Betsy for Jim's death. The Plowboys' arrival sparks a gunfight with the gamblers. The Plowboys' truck plows through the car barricade with ease, but Nina activates the barbed wire trap, triggering a massive explosion that destroys the truck. The neighbor on watch climbs down and kills the last gambler, only to be shot dead by Wanda. Inside the house, Betsy finds Mark and returns Nina's wedding ring to him. Before they can react, Wanda enters and shoots Betsy in the head. She then points her gun at Mark, but Nina arrives just in time to kill Wanda. With the gangsters defeated, Nina goes to confront Phil, only to find him already dead. She notices a gang tattoo on his body and finds her father's favorite gun on the table. Taking the gun, she leaves Phil's house. On her way out, Nina sees the little girl staring strangely at the house, making her wonder if the child might have killed Phil, as there were rumors about a gang of children. Afterward, Nina gives Mark her father's gun, and in return, Mark puts the wedding ring back on her finger. Once they recover from their injuries, the couple returns to the road, now hunting gang members and protecting other survivors. A radio host warns everyone not to cross paths with them. What's your thoughts about this movie? Let us know in the comment section. Don't forget to like and share this video.